Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're about to completely dismantle some of the most persistent, stubborn gym myths out there and uncover the exact biological timeline of muscle growth. We're basing all of this on the absolute latest, most definitive sports science. So, if you've been working out hard but kind of feel like your results just aren't matching your effort, this high-quality animated breakdown is exactly what you need. We're going to explore exactly what happens inside your body, literally hour by hour, so you can stop guessing and finally start growing. Let's jump right in.
Okay, here is our roadmap. We'll be covering 1. The muscle building myth. 2. Tension triggers the growth. 3. The 48-hour growth window. 4. Sleep, the recovery equation. And 5. Fueling the construction crew.
All right, part 1, the muscle building myth, tearing versus loading. We're kicking things off with a massive counterintuitive truth that will honestly change how you view your entire workout routine.
Here's the deal. You don't actually build muscle at the gym. You break it there. The gym session is just the catalyst. The actual magic, the real growth, happens while you're sleeping or, simply sitting at your desk doing absolutely nothing. And this is where most people completely screw up. When you train, your brain sends a signal, motor neurons fire and muscle fibers contract. When the load is heavy enough, your body brings in those bigger, more powerful fibers, the ones with the actual growth potential. But remember, the sweat and effort in the gym, that's just flipping the switch.
A fascinating 2025 review out of McMaster University, which is one of the top sports science programs on Earth, by the way, proves that your muscle doesn't actually need to be torn to grow. It just needs to be loaded. It's the mechanical tension that does the heavy lifting, not the damage you're so eager to flex in the mirror. You know that lingering soreness you've been chasing? That is just inflammation. Your body is just doing cleanup. It is not a growth signal. Think about it for a second. Marathon runners are completely destroyed for a solid week after a race, but they don't come back with massively bigger legs, right? Because damage does not equal growth. Moving on to part 2. Tension triggers the growth, the science of eccentrics. Let's see how tension actually creates the microscopic signals your body uses to trigger all that growth.
So, the real MVP of muscle growth? It's not soreness. It's a microscopic molecular signal called MTC1. When a muscle fiber is under load, especially while it's lengthening, it physically deforms. The fiber actually senses that exact tension and triggers this MTC1 signal, which essentially screams at your body to start building new, bigger proteins. And that, my friends, is the literal biological definition of hypertrophy.
But here is where you are probably leaving massive gains on the table. Get this. Your muscles can actually handle about 40% more force on the lowering phase, the eccentric part of the movement, than on the way up. The lowering phase of a pull-up or the slow descent of a dip, that is where the tension is highest, and that is exactly where MTC1 gets hit the absolute hardest.
So if you stop treating that downward motion like just an annoying commute between reps, everything changes. Most people drop down way too fast, pull back up, and count the rep. But the rep you just counted, that's the one your muscles cared about the least because you completely rushed the most important part. If you purposefully slow that lowering down to a minimum of 3 seconds, you maximize that mechanical tension. And honestly, your gains will go absolutely bananas just from making that one single adjustment.
Let's hit section 3, the 48-hour growth window. Timing really is everything, so let's dive into the critical timeline that dictates exactly how often you should be hitting each muscle.
When you track the biological timeline of growth, you can see exactly why the traditional bro split is totally failing you. Muscle protein synthesis, the actual building process, peaks around 24 hours after your session, but by 48 hours, it's basically back down to baseline. The window's closed. Done. Over. So if you're training back on a Monday and not touching those muscles again until the next Monday, they were growing for 2 days and then just sitting there dormant for 5 whole days. Hitting each muscle twice a week isn't just some nice fitness tip. It literally doubles your growth phases from 2 days to 4.
Which means that feeling incredibly sore on Thursday from a Monday workout, it means absolutely nothing for growth. The building phase completely shut down by Wednesday. Sure, your soreness may peak around day 2 and hang around for a bit, but the construction crew already packed up their tools and went home at hour 48. Next time you limp out of a session thinking you crushed it, well, you probably did. But the crushing part is over. What happens in the next 48 hours is the whole game.
All right, section 4, sleep, the recovery equation. Now we really need to talk about the massive saboteur that might be destroying all that hard work you just put in. A completely terrifying study highlights this perfectly for anyone who sacrifices rest. Researchers took 2 groups of people,
put them on the exact same diet, and put them in the exact same calorie deficit. The only difference whatsoever was their sleep. The group sleeping less lost 60% more muscle. Just think about that. Same food, exact same calorie deficit, but totally different biological results simply because they skimped on sleep.
Let's look a little closer at these numbers, because they're honestly staggering. Just one single bad night of sleep reduces muscle protein synthesis by 18%. Not a week of bad sleep, one night. Furthermore, less sleep results in 55% less fat loss when you're in a deficit. And if you string together a week of 5-hour nights, your testosterone drops by 10 to 15%. That is the exact same biological decline you would expect from aging a full 10 years, packed into a single week. A minimum of 7 hours of sleep isn't just a fun lifestyle tip for staying awake at work. It is literally the only environment where your body actually builds the muscle you are working so hard for.
Section 5. Fueling the construction crew, tracking raw materials. Let's talk about the final, absolute necessity for hypertrophy, providing the actual raw materials to build with.
You can sleep perfectly, and that MTC1 signal might be firing on all cylinders because of your awesome slow eccentrics, but if you don't supply the proper protein, absolutely nothing gets built. To use the analogy from the source material, it's like you hired the most expensive, elite construction crew in town, got them all on site, and then realized you completely forgot to order the bricks and the wood.
And the human error element here is massive. Studies show people underestimate their food intake by up to 50%. You think you're eating 2,000 calories, but you're actually eating 3,000. Or, on the flip side, you think you're eating enough protein to build muscle, but you're falling way short. This completely ruins carefully planned deficits or surpluses. You think you've been tracking your protein, but you slept 6 hours, scrolled on your phone until 1 a.m., and completely guessed your portion sizes. That is the real bottleneck.
To completely fix the guesswork, the source material points to precision tools like the MacroFactor Nutrition app, which is actually designed to adapt to your dynamic metabolism every single week. It doesn't just stick to some static numbers you entered on day one. It builds the plan around how your body is actually responding in real time. Plus, with their high-quality photo logging, you just snap a picture of your plate and it calculates the macros for you, making it incredibly easy to ensure your body always has the exact fuel it needs. If you want to check out the source's recommendation, you can use the code YELLOWDUDE for a 14-day free trial.
So let's tie this whole shebang together. By adhering to these specific rules, you ensure your body actually receives the tension, time, and materials required for optimal hypertrophy. Remember, progressive overload doesn't just mean adding more reps or plates. If you're doing bodyweight exercises, you can use harder variations, weighted vests, or just implement those slower 3-second eccentrics to massively increase tension. Hit the muscle twice a week to maximize that 48-hour window. Get 7 hours of sleep minimum, and get your protein totally dialed in.
Because at the end of the day, your muscles don't grow just because they hurt. They grow because you loaded them with tension, you fed them the right materials, and then you got out of the way and let them rest. Most people spend those crucial 48 hours sleeping badly, skipping protein, and just sitting around waiting to feel less sore. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. Are you ready to stop hindering your own progress and finally let your biology do the work?